Welcome to Comics with Dan. Welcome to Monday Night Comics. Uh, I'm pretty excited about tonight's show because if you've watched before, you know I put together a list of all the books that I'm going to be talking about, and sometimes it's 12, 15 books maybe. Well, this week the list is 30 books, and part of the reason for that is that the other day, let me see, what day was it? Today's the 10th. It must have been like Thursday or something because it was on the 7th. No, Friday. So on Friday, I didn't have the TV on. I put like classical music on on my headphones because I can't read with music with lyrics, and I just like powered through like 10 books in one evening, which is a lot for me, especially because a lot of times I have to do like stuff for work in the evenings. So that's part of the reason that the list is so big this week. But also, I have been reading more with my sons. We've been reading Sonic, and we've been reading Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And Comixology Unlimited just put issues 74 through 77 up on as part of Comixology Unlimited. So we finally got to those. So we actually just finished 77 tonight. And so when I go to the comic book, my local comic shop on Wednesday, I will definitely be looking for 78 through, I believe, 82 is the last one that came out. So definitely excited to talk about these a bit, and let's get to it. I'm also going to put up this banner. There we go. All right. So as you can see in the title of the stream tonight, we're going to talk about the Dreadnok War. Okay, so this is I'll say upcoming, but it's here, right? This is an event for the G.I. Joe line of books in the Energon universe. And what's really cool about this is that it's going to be shipping every other week, right? So this came out just this past week on the 5th, and then number 13 did, and number 14 comes out on the 19th, right? So we get 13 and 14, and then on the 3rd we get 15, and these covers are incredible. And then 16 comes out on the December 17th, and then we get the final part of the Dreadnok War on January 7th. Now, what I don't know is we see 18 comes out January, so it looks like it's still shipping every 2 weeks. For January, but then it skips to a month for number 19. So that's interesting. But basically, if you haven't been reading G.I. Joe, here's kind of the rundown on what the Dreadnok War is. Okay, so really the kind of key things that you need to know is that for the G.I. Joe line, their kind of role in the Energon universe is a few things. This Energon has come to Earth, and as what would happen if this really happened, if this energy source, this like practically unlimited, extremely powerful energy source came to Earth, people would use it to make weapons, right? The Cobra Commander comes across this group called the Dreadnoks, who have kind of stumbled across this store of energon in this like swamp, right? And obviously, with the way that Cobra Commander is, he's not just going to kind of let that go. He comes through and he brutally kills several of them and then takes it. So the one, and I think it's Ripper is his name. He is the kind of the one of the Dreadnoks that survives, but then ends up working for Cobra Commander, and that was way back during the Cobra Commander miniseries, right? So it's not exclusive to the GI Joe run, but rather the miniseries that started it. So the this energon that Cobra Commander has taken from the Dreadnoks, he's using it to build weapons, his master plan, evil stuff, right? Well, the in this issue, right, in this first issue of the Dreadnok War, uh, Cobra Commander is out in the desert because there's an energon signal reading, and he's going to find it because the energon stores are running low. Well, Duke also, Duke and the GI Joes also, have this tracker, this ability to find this energon, and they go out and look for it too. Well, not to spoil anything too much for the Dreadnok War, but um, in this first issue, they're both out there and they kind of meet, and it is the first time that they'll have met since, I believe, issue number 6, when they had that big face off, and it was a great issue. But then um, essentially it's an ambush by the Dreadnoks, and my understanding is that like Ripper doesn't realize what happened, and that he wasn't part of planning this, but he seizes the opportunity. And so it seems like that's with the direction that this is going to go in, where Duke is going to have to team up with Cobra Commander to take out the Dreadnoks. And what's really exciting about this, first of all, I think Josh Williamson is he's really hitting his stride as a writer. I mean, he's doing great work on GI Joe. He's doing great work on Superman. And on top of that, it seems like he's just writing like every other book for DC. His Green Arrow run, I've heard that's great. He wrote Night Fight, which I talked about last week, which I'll talk about a little bit later because I was just talking about being excited for it last week. I actually got to read it on Friday, and it was great. But so Josh Williamson's he's crushing pretty much everywhere that he's writing. And on top of that, Tom Riley hasn't been on a GI Joe book in a little while. So it's exciting that Tom Riley's back. I really love his art, and like these covers are incredible too, right? So this is the cover for 13, which is a great cover, and then Duke and Cobra Commander in the desert, and it's kind of funny because it's like them driving in a Jeep here, in a very specific red Jeep with people after them, and then on the very next issue cover, they're still in the desert. The Jeep's on fire, and they're looking at each other like they're at odds. I mean, like you can't imagine that like this is going to go well, right? Like there was a big showdown between these two guys like 6 issues ago. So this is probably my favorite cover of all of them, the reflection in Cobra Commander's helmet. And a very beat up Cobra Commander helmet. And then like this, like it almost gives me like Mad Max vibes. And I haven't seen those movies, but like the visuals that from like the trailers and stuff that I have seen, it's like, like desert, like these like racing machines, like driving around. It definitely gives off those kind of vibes. And so, yeah, it's interesting because I almost wonder, like, this is a strange kind of cover. They're all focused on one thing here. Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I don't know how this is kind of going to go. I have to imagine that there's going to be like Cobra Commander is going to like double cross Duke at some point. I mean, that would just be really like in character. I do also wonder if there is like actually any energon out in the desert, or if it was all just like a ruse to get Cobra Commander out there. so that the Dreadnoks could kind of take him out. But either way, definitely excited for that. I would love to hear your guys' opinion on what you think about this, how GI Joe has been going in general. And I'm saying all this as somebody who I've never read a GI Joe comic before this, right? The reason that I picked these up is because of their involvement in the Energon universe, and I've ended up loving it. So I may go back and try to read the old like Marvel stuff and stuff like that. So I also read GI Joe number 12. Now this is a Night Force issue, and again, these have always felt a bit more like catered to existing GI Joe fans, because like the first appearance of fan favorite Shooter, like I don't know who Shooter is, but she's cool. It's a good issue. It's a nice standalone issue. So if you're like wanting to check out like the vibe of the book, like this is a good kind of like one shot type. It doesn't really represent the full like story, right? Like there's no actual like members of the GI Joe team in this, and it's not really following the main, Energon based storyline, but it definitely does its work as a kind of standalone issue. So I have here Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures number 17. So what I really like about this particular series is that it's like family friendly, right? And I'm actually like sort of in parallel, very slowly reading the first volume of the like regular IDW Ninja Turtles run, not the one that's currently going on, but the one before that. And it's just, I was thinking about this tonight, and it's like, because I was reading it just before this, and it's almost like it's not like edgy and serious enough to be edgy and serious, but then it's also not family friendly or campy enough to be like fun. It's like it has like an identity issue where not this series, but the regular IDW series, at least at the beginning, where it tries really hard to be very serious. And I think that you can do good things with that. But it still stops short of being like it, basically I kind of think it should commit, right? It should commit to being serious, or should commit to being funny. Like the in between just doesn't really do it for me. Personally, I feel like every issue I've read of the Saturday Morning Adventure series is better than every issue I've read of the regular series. So, because I mean, like the early issues of the Saturday Morning Adventures were definitely like extra goofy. But as we get further into the series, it just gets better and better. And you get cool like guest appearances like by Mona Lisa. My kids keep asking when Mondo Gecko is going to show up, because they know him from the Shredder's Revenge video game, and because the downloadable characters of Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko. It's also how they got introduced to Usagi Yojimbo. So, but this one is a little 2-issue arc where it's basically like a museum heist story, and there's like a pretty solid like detective work through it too. And there's a great character introduced named Ta, and he's like this giant, like they even say it in there, like if Leatherhead and Krang got mashed together, because he's a giant crocodile and then you can see his brain. I really liked him as a villain, and Sarah Meyer does a fantastic job of drawing him. So yeah, I mean, this is really good, right? And the other cool thing about this series is that the the issues rarely span more than two even, for each arc, right? So like I believe that there might have been a 3 issue arc at one point. Um, but like you can grab like 1 or 2 issues of this as long as you kind of just open up the front cover and check like, oh, like is this part 1 and then part 2 and then the next one after this, number 19, is a completely different story. So like that's what I did, right? Because we've been reading on Comixology Unlimited, and we have like it's a weird blend. We have the first volume, which is the mini series from the beginning, so like issues 1 through 4, and then volume 2 is issues 1 through 4 again, a different 1 through 4. I actually mapped it out for my 5-year-old recently. But the but so like we have the single issues for 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We don't have issue number 8, but we have the volume 4, which includes 9, 10, 11, and the April special. And so like it's just this wild combination. But so basically 17 and 18 were available in the at my comic shop, and so I picked them up, and I might go and get 19 depending on how big of a week it looks like this week. There's a few things that I want to pick up, so we'll have to see. But this was a pretty good like 2 issue story. Yeah, like I really enjoyed, and here's the cover for 18. I really enjoyed these. Like they're just like a really good blend um of like fun and goofiness. They're family friendly, and like they're good just in general, right? Like even if I wasn't reading them to my kids, I'd probably read them anyway. So I read Sonic number 74. This is one that it came up on Comixology Unlimited. Finally, after a while, it had been, it was wasn't available to read unless you like paid the like basically bought the digital issue, which I'm not going to do that. And so 74 was pretty decent. Truthfully, this whole Phantom Rider arc has probably been the best one since the Metal Virus. Like there was a period there where there was a bit of a lull in the quality between the Metal Virus and not maybe not quite now, but I guess kind of leading up to this. It just felt like there wasn't a great idea as to what the direction should be. But this was pretty good. And then issue number 75 was probably the best issue since issue number 50. It just like, and what's really cool about this is that Ian Flynn wrote issue number 50 and did just an incredible job of like the culmination of all these events and everything coming together. And Evan Stanley wrote issue number 75. So like the both of them just do such a great job of like pulling everything to a close, right? So if you're ever thinking of picking up a Sonic comic, and like even better, like these issues by themselves stand on these issues stand on their own, right? So like yeah, like obviously you want to read the part leading up to it because you'll appreciate the ending more. But in reality, you can read issue 50 without context, and you can read issue 75 without context, and they're just good comics. And like, and that's actually how I read issue number 50 is without having read a bunch of the issues before that. And it was great. It's just so well done. And Evan Stanley does like the same thing here. I still think I like issue number 50 better just because the various plots that Ian Flynn ties together. But Evan Stanley does an incredible job here. And I gave this 5 stars. Like not even just for a Sonic comic or for a kid's comic is it good, but it's just a good comic in general. So 76, not necessarily a bad issue, but they kind of needed an issue to gather up the ending from the Phantom Rider arc and to kind of push things on to where they're going to go next. And in fact, the end of this issue is like a 4-panel page that shows the 4 different directions that this adventure is going on. Still no Knuckles in sight. I feel like we haven't seen him in ages. So like not a bad issue, but it did what it needed to do. Now number 77 was pretty cool. A pretty cool twist at the end. And it it's an issue where Sonic works with the chaotic, so it's a very like detective heavy issue, which I'm a fan of. Um, it seems like it's going to be kind of a cool direction that they're going with this, with stuff with Clutch and Robotnik, and then you also see like, and I haven't read it at number 78 yet, but this was like one of the groups that was off going to do something in 78, and then in 79 there's Tangle and Whisper and Silver, so like they're going to be juggling some storylines here for sure. Um, and Shadow comes back, which is exciting. And that's a great cover. Let's look at that. Yeah, that's a cool cover. Yeah, so I like the direction that this is heading. I do wonder with how Ninja Turtles recently reset to number 1. I do wonder if Sonic's going to try to do the same thing. I hope not. I'd rather they just keep it. But I understand that's just kind of the way of the industry right now, as unfortunate as it is. But hopefully, regardless of if they switch to a new number 1 or not, that it's quality stuff. And so we also recently got the Sonic Forces game, which is the game that leads directly into the first issue of Sonic. And so my 7-year-old's actually a lot farther in it than I am. I guess like one day he just played and just kind of powered through these levels. He's on like level 25 and I'm on like level 9 or something like that. But I'll be looking to him to see what his takes on it are. Batman number 3 by Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez. And the thing I like about this a lot is it feels like impactful. It feels like there's like he's saying something here. There's a focus on the mental health of the Gotham criminals, which it is like I think that it's something that if you approach it correctly can be done really well and not come off as like preachy. And I appreciate that. And I think that's the direction that Matt Fraction's going in, where he can have that conversation about mental health without coming off as like lecturing people that they should like take mental health more seriously. It's like while that's true, right? Like I don't need a comic book writer to to point that at me. He can explore that without kind of coming off like that. There's plenty of writers who try to tackle subjects like this and just don't do it well. I can see that Matt Fraction is going to do this well. I hope. It seems like that's going to be the case. Basically, like the gist of it is that this thing that the Riddler here is trying to kind of pick up, it supposedly can use electricity to properly like stimulate the brain and like provide more stimulation where it's needed and reduce it elsewhere. And I guess this doctor, let me see if the characters here, Dr. Zeller. Yeah, I was gonna say this is the first appearances in this run. She has apparently been testing it on inmates at Arkham. So I think this is going to be interesting. Um, this was a good issue. Uh, the the Vandal Savage as police commissioner, and I talked a bit about this last week, I think. Um, it's I'm okay with the direction that that's going. Now, that being said, I I don't it feels a little like it's been done already. Um like the police not being and the city of Gotham not being on Batman's side. I would have probably preferred if they had taken Vandal Savage as police commissioner and then also used Gotham War from Chip Zdarsky's run to sort of scatter the Bat family so that Gotham pretty much existed as Batman needing to kind of lurk around a bit more and be more in the shadows and be kind of go back to being an urban legend. And the part that Vandal Savage would play in that is that um, that the police in the city of Gotham are now against Batman. So he's really operating on his own. Obviously, that didn't happen. I do kind of wonder, just based on the way that Chip Zdarsky was introducing things, that if that's what he wanted but couldn't. I don't think we'll ever know that. I guess, unless Chip Zdarsky, comes out years later and says like, yeah, DC wouldn't let me do anything. There's not a good way to know until much further down the road. So we'll just have to see. We'll just see how it goes. But overall, this is the best issue of Matt Fraction's run so far, and I want to stay patient with it. I stayed patient with Chip Zdarsky's until Joker Year One, and that's finally what got me off the book. But this looks like it's going to be a good issue, or a good run, or good arc, at least in the run. So, Void Rivals. So, I think, like I said last week, I was actually under the impression that 23 was the last issue of the arc, but that doesn't make a ton of sense. So this was actually, I believe, the last issue of the arc, and it kind of just wraps things up from essentially what happened with Goliath and the Zertonians and the Agorians last issue, which basically was just that. You know, it actually, like, this entire like 6 issue arc has presented us with the solution and like what's supposed to happen, and then simultaneously towards the end has now made me question what the right thing is, because basically the Goliath, this giant monster type guy, is trapped inside the sacred ring. And he's trapped because the Agorians and the Zertonians are separate. Now, the idea is that he is getting weaker and weaker inside the sacred ring, and so they now need to unite to let him out so that they can defeat him at his weakest point. However, if he stays in there too long, he will become more powerful and then break out of the sacred ring, and then there will be no way to stop him. So the previous issues here, they result in the groups splitting apart because I guess realized that Zerta wasn't everything she seemed to be. But I'm questioning as to whether or not Zerta was telling the truth, or if like what's going on there. So to me, it's extremely unclear now as to what's going on. But Salila is now kind of locked up. Derek and his father are now kind of like reunited and rekindled their relationship. So I think it's a really interesting point in the Void Rivals universe where there's just a lot of uncertainty, and the Quintesson War is coming up, and it's interesting because we have the Dreadnok War and the Quintesson War occurring at the same time within the Energon universe. I don't know if that has anything to do with each other, and I don't know if the Transformers book is going to be having some kind of war. But I do find it interesting that like Goliath seems to be like he's being put on the back burner a bit, and I refuse to for that to be the end of Goliath. Like we saw his hand, right? His hand came out of the sacred ring. They got him back in there. It doesn't seem like that can be the end of him. So I think we're going to see him down the road. This book has leveled out a bit, I will say. But I trust Robert Kirkman to do a good job and to like it's a slow burn, right? Like this is like he's not writing for the trade here, which I appreciate. That's something very rare in comics now to have a book that's being written truly serially, not as like part 1 of 5, part 2 of 5, and so on. To be honest, I don't know. Yeah, each of these, I don't think each of these stories has a title. I don't think that I mean, I guess like the trades probably each have a title, but I don't think that they're really structuring this for trades at all, which is refreshing. Okay, so some Superman. I picked this up because I felt that I had missed out on something with Lex Luthor, and um, because I thought that he was still good, and I didn't think that he had reverted back to his old self. But then I think later in one of the Superman books, he had. So this does a good job of expressing that. It's a good Lex Luthor book too. I mean, it it kind of just dives into the character a little bit. But I mostly got it for information, right? Just so I could kind of see what was going on. And overall I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. It doesn't fully explain it. Leaves on something of a cliffhanger. Um, but I have a little bit of catching up to do with Superman. I'm a bit off. I really should just add it to my pull list. I end up picking up the issues half the time and then not half the time, and then I don't have all of them. It's annoying. I should just pick them up. Um Now this piece, I really wanted to get issue number 28, but it sold out so fast, and and I can't find a copy of it. I'd really like to. But it's this arc of against the Legion of Darkseid, and so that very directly ties into the Absolute Universe and what's going on with DCKO. So the other thing that this shows me is that Josh Williamson is like he's like a Superman historian, like maybe not on like Mark Wade levels, but like he gets the character very, very well. This isn't like a random assignment that he has writing Superman. Like bringing in the Legion, and it's this sort of twisted alternate universe version of the Legion. The fact that Williamson's able to twist these characters in a way that is recognizable to their original characters, but obviously warped around this world that Darkseid has created, shows that he has done his homework. Like and like that's kind of like a comment on both of these issues really is is that Williamson appreciates the history of Superman, and appreciates the portion of history for Superman that like some writers don't, right? Like my understanding is that John Byrne, like I love the Man of Steel like miniseries, right? But A lot of people have a problem with his work, not just because of it being like derogatory towards immigrants, but additionally because he doesn't seem to care about the history of Superman. And, he was being tasked with kind of re redoing the origin. Um, but there's ways that you can do that while still respecting the history of the character. Um, I don't think you need to have everything exactly the same, but the things that he changed were very clearly either to make Superman not an immigrant anymore, right? Which to me, um, that wouldn't be as big of a deal if John Byrne hadn't made very explicit remarks about being against immigrants. And like, to be clear, like, not like that this truthfully isn't even a political thing, because it's not about illegal or legal immigrants. It's just immigrants in general that John Byrne didn't like. So um the the but the history that Williamson brings into this is just, it's incredible. Um it really comes to a T in this, in Superman number 30. And then I read 31 actually before I read 30. But the real in these 29 and 30, and I'm assuming 28 is also very solid. But the 31 is a DCKO tie-in, so it's fine, but it's very much a segue from this um Legion of Darkseid into DCKO. So I feel like people should be buying Superman. I mean, let me look at the pool numbers on these. 11,862. And like, if you compare that to Batman, right? It's like, it's half. It's less than half, which is wild to me. And then like if we look at Aquaman, and Aquaman's half of Superman. So like, I find that interesting. And like that's 900. Like, that's wild. And like, I understand this isn't comprehensive of everything, but it at least gives you a flavor as to what kind of like what's happening. And like, that's interesting that Void Rivals has more people pulling it than Aquaman. And this also kind of goes to show maybe why Aquaman hasn't had his own book in a while. But like Batman and Robin, like 8,000. And like, I get it. Like the main line, or the main flagship Batman book, is going to get big numbers, right? 25,000 for one issue. But I do find it interesting that Superman is a good bit lower. I would have expected it to be a bit closer. And so like, if we look at Transformers, yeah, see, like, Transformers outselling Superman seems strange to me. I don't know. What about G.I. Joe? These numbers are always interesting to me because, yeah, I mean, that kind of tracks. About 5 or 6,000. What about Sonic? Yeah, I wouldn't expect Sonic to be up there with the big names. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting though. Okay, so yeah, Superman. I mean, I'd love to see more people get on that book. So Night Fight. We talked last week about how excited I was for this, and we looked at the costumes. What's slightly disappointing is that Dan Morris showed us the costumes for Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Damian Wayne, and Tim Drake. And only Dick Grayson shows up as Batman in this issue, which is fine because it was a really good story. And I'm almost treating this as something of an Elseworlds, because it seems like Batman's in an alternate universe of brought on by the events of DCKO. So, which I think makes this event like a really cool place for these creators to kind of play around, is that they can like warp things a bit to tell their stories and make things a little more fun, with the understanding that it's the events of DCKO that are causing it, right? Which, now that I think about it, the Dark Crisis World Without a Justice League comics probably were able to do the same thing. I have not read any of those yet, so I may get into those and see what they're like. But this was very well done. And again, it's Williamson, right? And so, I mean, I truly think he's hitting his stride. He's just, it seems like book after book, he's doing well. Like I feel like I not to draw back to Superman, but like his early issues of Superman weren't as good as the ones are now. It's gotten better and better. And I would even say the same with G.I. Joe, is that it just keeps getting better. And like that's an impressive thing to do. A lot of times I feel like writers can kind of, like, the well dries up and things aren't as exciting anymore. But Williamson's doing, he's keeping things fresh and exciting. So we talked about Sonic and Sonic and Sonic. So we'll skip over to Aquaman. So I am picking this one up because it's a tie into DCKO. It looks like Nimit Malavia is the artist. I didn't realize that he was on that. I thought it was still, was it John Timms, I guess. But so the solicit here, Mare and the Mystery of Atlantis unravels. Even as Andy moves towards her ultimate goal and Arthur contends with the power of the blue. I don't love the blue. I don't hate it either. I don't love it. But is this power too much for even a king to contend with? An oceanic onslaught unloads the king of the seven seas, and the connection between the dark tide and dark side is last revealed. So if you recall, or if you weren't reading, I'll tell you, early on, this Aquaman book established itself as something that's connecting to dark side, because I believe in the very first issue, Atlantis and Mara and everyone get kidnapped, and a giant Omega symbol is left behind. And that really, like, that obviously points toward dark side. And at the time, what was happening with dark side is just that the absolute universe had been created. None of the DCKO stuff had been going on yet. So I'm really very interested to see how this plays out, and how it all connects. Now, I haven't read all of this. I read through issue number 6. So there's a possibility that I'll want to try to catch up. What's interesting is, like, volume 1 collects 1 through 8. And that, I'm guessing, has not come out yet. Yeah, that comes out in December. Because then there's no volume 2 solicited yet. That's weird. But I might just need to grab, maybe, so like my local comic shop does a big Black Friday sale. And so maybe I'll just have to grab like 7 through 10 to get caught up. I'm actually surprised that I'm up through 6. It's kind of surprising, because I thought I dropped out longer or earlier than that. Batman and Robin. And so the Quiet Man is kind of what's going on here. This is a very, very generic solicit. As Batman's newest enemy continues to cut a bloody path through Gotham's underground, the dynamic duo works to uncover his motives. What is his connection to some of the city's fiercest villains? What brought him back down and down? And who will be caught in the crossfire? Find out here. My guess is we don't find out here because I've been lied to in solicits enough. But this is a cool cover with Batman and Robin doing detective work inside, and Superman and other Superman on the outside. Makes me wonder though. Oh wait, someone goes Super Sons. Yeah, we got them. What's weird though is I feel like maybe I'm thinking of a different book where I thought that the ventriloquist was related to what's going on here. And this doesn't seem to have anything to do with the ventriloquist. This, I thought, had the yeah, okay, so it has the ventriloquist in it. Well, I guess we'll see. But yeah, so I'm enjoying Batman and Robin. Philip Kennedy Johnson's one of my favorite writers. So we got Blood and Thunder. I won't talk about that one too much because I did finally get caught up on all my issues of it, or at least getting all my issues. I'm probably going to reread issues 1 and 2 and read up through issue number 6. So I'm excited that I'm caught up there. I'm going to probably prioritize reading those over the next couple days so that I can read number 7 when it comes out. So truthfully, I wasn't crazy about this issue of Transformers. Like I know Robert Kirkman's going to do a good job, but it didn't wow me. And like Daniel Warren Johnson variant. Yeah, that's sick. But like Dan Moore's art's always good. The one of the interesting things is that I don't know that the coloring, like Mike Spicer's a great colorist. I just don't know that it necessarily fits Dan Moore's style as well as like other stuff that I've seen, right? So like if we go back to like obviously Tamara Bonvillain on World's Finest colors Dan Moore perfectly. In Night Fight, colorist, do we not have a colorist here? Oh, Triona Farrell does a great job of coloring Dan Mora. I feel like the lesson here is that like you have to use colors that really pop with Dan Mora's art because it's so dynamic. Like I've seen people talk about how all of Jim Lee's art is like they're all posing for a picture, which I can't help but laugh at it because it's true. But I do love Jim Lee's art, but it's the truth. It looks like they're all posing. Now, Dan Mora's, on the other hand, is very dynamic and action-packed, and it feels like they're always moving. Well, I think that the brighter colors really complement that. I don't think that Mike Spicer did that in Transformers. And he's obviously a great colorist, right? Like I'm not slighting his work, but I just hope that we see a bit of a change in the palette there. This one is not on my pull list, but it is coming out this week, and there's a strong possibility that I will be picking this up because it just looks too cool. Batman Static Beyond. First of all, like Virgil looks older. So Earth, that's interesting. So they're on the League, they're listing these as the DC animated universe. versions. But that's interesting. So like this just looks like such a great crossover. So and I don't even know if I don't know any of the do I know Wes Abbott? Looks like he did that crossover. I don't know. I don't know if I know any of these creators. I didn't read Gilded City. Yeah, I don't think I've read any of his work, but we'll have to see. Let's see if I know the artist. Yeah, I guess I need to read Static. I would like to read I'd like to get the compact version of this of Static because that's one that I've had my eye on because it seems like it's like kind of just like the perfect candidate for that because it's like it's a book that I really want to try out and it just kind of makes sense there. Okay, so now we're going to move on to books on final order cutoff. So these ones are on final order cutoff tonight. So get them on your pull list. What's interesting? Okay, all fight month. That's a cool way to label it. I didn't realize. So this is also Williamson, but yeah, I just decided I'm going to pick up a couple of these DCKO fights, just the ones that kind of really speak to me. Like Superman's like kind of an obvious one for me, and Wonder Woman against Lobo would be a really cool one, and the Jorge Corona covers definitely help. On top of that, Joelle Jones is a great writer, so she did Lady Killer, which we're going to jump over to that real quick so I can show everyone kind of unless it's 2 words. This was from Dark Horse. This was awesome. It's a bit violent, but yeah, this is a great one. So check that out if you get the chance. Joelle Jones is a very good writer. So I think she'll do a good job at Wonder Woman versus Lobo. So and I think I said this last week that am I going to decide on stream tonight if I want to pull Donald Duck. And I think I'm gonna go for it because I think this is one that not only will my boys enjoy, but my girls will enjoy it too. So I'm definitely gonna add that to the pull list. So it's official that I've added it, and I'm looking forward to it. That one will come out December 10th. I think the final order cutoff for that's tonight. Yep. Okay. And let's see what else we have. Dread the Halls 2025. So this was really good last year. They did one of these last year. It's like a horror anthology with like a Christmas theme. Jordan Hart did a lot of the stories in the last one, and I liked all of them. So if he it seems like he's doing some more stories here. I don't think it's listed out which ones he'll be doing. And then Walter Pax and Fabio Veras, they also did a really good one last year. So it looks like it's a lot of the same creative team. So hopefully I get a review copy of this to share with everyone. Well, not share the copy. for anyone watching, to share the what it's how it is and if it's worth picking up. But that's a cool one. So that's one to look out for. Shiver suspense stories. This is another one. It's like a horror Christmas book. I read this one. Again, they did this last year as well. And really, these EC revival books that Oni Press is doing, is that they do such a good job because they keep true to the vibe of the older like EC books, but then it's like 90% new material, and then 10% they like throw an additional like a refinished story, right? Like a not recolored, like remastered, right? Like touched up and all that stuff at the end, which is cool. So I also noticed Sammy Cavella, I believe, colored an issue of Kosher Mafia, if I recall correctly. Did a great job. Melissa Flores, that's a good name. Ben Winter sounds familiar for some reason. What do I know Ben Winters from? Do I know Ben Winters from anything? I don't think I do. Other than, I guess, like the Cruel Kingdom stuff, but I didn't really read much of that, to be honest. So, Shiver suspense stories. So again, we're getting into the point of the year where we have the final order cutoff for some Christmas stuff. Here we have, when's the final order cutoff? This today. This is, I just love this color with this cover with Casey Jones and Raphael in the front. And like I talked about this series earlier, it's a lot of fun. We'll definitely be getting this one when it comes out. What else do we have? Yeah, I talked about this one last week. Terminator Santa Claus is coming to town. Again, that's a great cover. It's the Terminator dressed up as Santa with a bunch of weapons in his bag. I don't know. I know that David Cousins did a bunch of covers for Terminator. I wonder if he's doing one for this. Will Robinson, Francesco Reese. Nah, that's okay. This looks pretty cool. And then, like, if you're like a cover collector type of person, all these covers look great. So so I'm not going to be pulling this one, but the Harley Quinn versus Zatanna final order cutoff for that's next week. I'm just not a big Harley Quinn fan. I like Zatanna, but I'm not big on Harley Quinn. Also, it does seem like pretty mismatched, but I don't know. That's just me, I guess. Dick Tracy number 14. So I feel like I just got, yeah, okay. I just got the review copy for number 13 over the weekend. And so maybe I can put out a video review of this, or even just write a little something. But truly, that, like, Dick Tracy has been one of the best ongoings out there. So, like, while investigating a German spy connected to Nazi gold, like, sign me up. This one I'm really excited about. So this is called The New Space Age. So disgraced astronaut Mark Mitchell has only ever had one true mission: to find his little brother Joey, who was abducted by aliens from a crop circle when they were little. But when Mark's hotshot piloting gets him grounded and the last of the public space program defunded, Mark loses his only means of finding Joey out in space, till Mark's homemade scanning rig discovers the shocking truth about the crop circles, their instructions for space travel. Mark will need to uncover the hidden messages that have been left on Earth for years and reverse engineer the magic that can finally help him find Joey. Okay. So sounds like a fairly run-of-the-mill like outer space story, right? But what really drew me to it is that Kenny Porter is writing it. So Kenny Porter wrote the Connor Kent miniseries. I believe it was last year, 2 years ago. So it was part of the round robin competition, and it was part of the Dawn of DC. Um, this was so good, right? Like I didn't think it was going to be that great, but I loved this. And so I have been kind of waiting for Kenny Porter to put some more stuff out. Um, and like I'm sure he has, and I just haven't been. I mean, look, there's not a ton here, right? So I am really excited that he's gonna get to do this. Um, I had pulled the schlub, but it never came in my local comic shop. So um, maybe I'll have to find the schlub and see if I can read that. But I am. Oh yeah, he wrote this Night Terrors Robin, these issues, and so I gave that one 4 stars. And what did I give the second issue? 4 stars. Okay. Yeah. So I'm excited. This is like a big discovery for me. So now the thing is, what I might do rather than just pull it from my local comic shop is I always talk about how much I love the like the subscription that Mad Cave does, where you receive the PDFs of the books as the single issues are released, and then when the trade comes out, you get the trade. It's not the most um, efficient way to do it, like financially, um, but especially because I get like the preview issues, but I definitely want to support it. And I feel like that's a good way to support that. And I want to support that model because I love that model. It's just like it's such a great idea. So the new Space Age, which looks really cool. I'm excited for that one. I believe the last one here, Superman Unlimited. So I'm already on this book, but one thing I'll note about this is that um, the the issues seem to be fairly standalone, or at least like 2 issues to an arc, right? So the fact that we have the final order cutoff here, right? So if you're not reading the book, like you can jump on here, and it's guest starring Green Lantern Guy Gardner, which should be enough for you to immediately hit pull on this. So thanks to Toyman's kryptonite generators, Earth is finally ready to mass produce commercial faster than light rockets for the planet's richest 1%. And who wouldn't want Earth's multi-billionaires traveling among the stars? Everyone, every single being in the entire cosmos. It's up to Superman and special guest star Guy Gardner to save the launch of Simon Stagg's new space yacht from one of the deadliest cosmic beings in the galaxy. So I wonder who that'll be. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be a good issue. I really like what Dan Slott's doing with this. Yeah, I like what Dan Slott's doing with this book. It's a really fun Superman book. And I again love the exploration of what this mass influx of kryptonite is doing. I again also wish that it was being addressed in other books, but I'm just happy that they're talking about it here. But yeah, so I believe that is the end of my list. And so that's all I have for this evening. So if anyone wants to chat a little bit more, or talk about books that you're reading, please throw it in the comments. Let me know. Otherwise, I'll throw some corporate lingo. I'll give you some time back. Although I guess I'm 5 minutes over my normal stream time, so I won't be giving anybody any time back. So, all right. Well, keep an eye out for. I might try to get a Dick Tracy video out there soon. I have a video on Aggie #1, which is coming out. When's Aggie coming out? No, I got rid of the. Okay, I don't have it up anymore. The final order cutoff for Aggie was recently, but you can still probably go pre-order it on AWA's website. So check out Aggie #1. That was a really solid book. And in addition to that, I have a video about visiting comic shops in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So some cool finds there. Definitely worth checking out. Make sure you like the video. Please subscribe. I appreciate every single subscriber. It helps kind of push things along and helps get word out about the channel and the show and everything. And would love to, now that I'm over 500 subscribers, I just need to get the watch hours to finally be monetized, at least in part. So, I think that would be great. I'd love to be able to do some membership stuff, have a Discord channel, things like that. So thanks, everyone, and have a good evening.